Hey folks, welcome back to the farm. We're here in the kitchen again today. It's been a year, but it really doesn't seem like it since the last bake sale that we made baked goods for. But it's coming up tomorrow, so Kelly and I are in the kitchen, busy as little bees making baked stuff. So come on along. Kelly was already busy yesterday making cupcakes that she still needs to frost. And she just got done using her brand new mixer for a giant bowl of Amish sugar cookies. Super cool. She loves it already. Getting her first batch going. Nice big cookies looks like. This is our favorite sugar cookie recipe. Doing her sprinkles now and some little Valentine's little hearts. Now, I always thought you put sprinkles on after you cook them, but I'm today this many years old till Kelly's told me that you sprinkle them beforehand. Kelly's a lot better cookie maker than I am. Doing two different color hearts on these cookies with some pink sprinkles. First batch of cookies is out. Kitchen smells amazing. Kelly has all her cookies baked. Got the last batch over here. Looks like one didn't make it, but that wasn't me. She's getting ready to package the cookies up. She's got these tins with lids on them. She's got her decorative paper in there. Kelly got all of her cookie packages made. They're perfect. Cookies were perfect size for those tins. Now she's going to make labels. Kelly's making frosting for her cupcakes now. What's your recipe, babe?
It's a marshmallow frosting. It's got butter, confectioner sugar. It's supposed to be almond extract. I'm going to use vanilla and then marshmallow fluff.
Ooh, marshmallows. In goes the marshmallow cream. That's what makes this frosting so good. Kelly was telling me about something that she found out about the cake batter yesterday. What'd you find out, babe?
When I was looking at the boxes, when you read the back, it tells you how many cakes or cupcakes or whatever. On the cupcakes now, instead of saying it does 24 cupcakes, it says 19 to 23.
Shrinkflation again. So if you want to make 2 dozen cupcakes, you got to buy 2 batters. Now Kelly's doing the frosting. And then she adds sprinkles. Here's a big box of Kelly's goodies for the bake sale. Got it all done. I'll see you at about 3 a.m. probably when I'll be waking up. And I'll start my bread then. Well, just like clockwork, I'm awake at 3:30. I told Kelly we might as well own a bakery since I'm always up at that time anyway. Let's make some donuts or something. But we're going to get our Portuguese sweetbread going, but we're going to make the big batch. This is the recipe that I scaled down so we could make it more often, but we're going to use the big recipe today because we're going to do some other stuff out of it as well. So let's start getting this stuff put together. Here's all of our ingredients here. We're going to use Big Bertha over here to make the bread, so it's going to be a lot easier. So let's get started. This recipe calls for 5 pounds of flour, but we only start off with half of it. So we got a whole 5-pound bag here. And we don't have to measure it, we're just going to guess at half of the bag. About right there. We're going to do all the dry ingredients first. Next in the mixer is 3 cups of sugar. Next thing is 1 cup of Splenda. And we're not doing this for health reasons. Splenda is a little bit sweeter than sugar and it gives it an extra pop without a ton more sugar. Next thing is a tablespoon of salt. And because we're using kosher salt, we heaped it up a little bit. Now normally we would add our dry yeast at this point as well, but because we're doing such a big batch and I want to make sure we don't waste a lot of ingredients, I'm going to go ahead and proof the yeast today. So we're just going to give this dry mix a little stir. That's all we need for that. So let's start getting our wet ingredients together. Now we're going to do our yeast kind of last, so we'll do our fats first. We need a whole pound of butter. Now to that you're supposed to add 1 tablespoon of Crisco. I don't know what the difference that 1 tablespoon makes, but it's always been in the recipe, so that's what we do. But I'm not going to use Crisco today. I'm going to use some of Kelly's coconut oil that comes out a lot like Crisco. So that's about a tablespoon there. Kelly uses the coconut oil in a lot of baking. Adds a little pop of extra flavor. And I like it. Good in pie dough too, but it melts down quite a bit for pie crust, but it does taste pretty good. So we're going to pop this in the microwave about 30 seconds at a time till it's all melted. Make sure you got a cover on this because butter likes to pop and sputter in the microwave. Next thing is 1 cup of potato flakes. And then we're going to do our very hot tap water, and we're going to put enough in there to make this like mashed potato consistency. There we go, a nice smooth consistency there is what you're looking for. We can go ahead and get our yeast started now that we're kind of ahead of the game. We need 6 tablespoons of yeast, and rather just do it tablespoon by tablespoon. A 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. And then we also have these little 1/8 of a cup measures are pretty handy, which is 2 more tablespoons. Makes it go a lot quicker. So we want something for the yeast to eat. So we need 2 tablespoons of sugar, which is our 1/8 of a cup measure. And then we're going to get 1.5 cups of warm water. You don't want to get over 130 degrees because you'll kill your yeast. So 120 degrees, 110 degrees, as long as it's warm. Give our dry yeast mixture a little stir. And then we've got our water 95 degrees. It's close enough. Now I've found that if you can hold your finger under the stream of water without any discomfort, you're fine because you're within that temperature. If it gets too hot and you got to pull your finger out, it's going to hurt you. If it's going to hurt you, it'll hurt your yeast. So it's a pretty good rule of thumb. So here's 1 cup, and then we'll go get another 1/2 cup. There we go. I think we're going to be fine. Our yeast is already starting to bubble. And it is a rapid yeast. All of our fat in the microwave is melted. So to cool down the temperature a little bit, we're going to pour it right into the mashed potatoes. That way when it goes together with the yeast, it's not going to kill the yeast either. Okay, we'll give this a little mix. Get that all incorporated. And the other thing we're going to do in here to cool this down also is the recipe calls for a cup of milk, whole milk. We're going to put our cup of milk in here right out of the fridge. And that'll cool things down even a little more to where we're very sure our yeast is going to be just fine. And there we go. Now our yeast is getting with it over there, so we need to crack 18 eggs into here, then we're ready to start bringing things together. As you can see, we're just in the nick of time. Our yeast is about ready to flow over. So we've got the dough hook on now. We're going to start putting everything in. I like to start with the eggs. That way they mix in a lot better. Otherwise it gets slimy on you. We'll go ahead and do the yeast also. Now that the eggs are all broken up, we can add all of our other mixture, our wet mixture, our potatoes and fat and milk. Get all of that in there. Alright, we've increased the speed a little bit. We're going to run this until that dough starts looking really elastic. See how the mixture was starting to get like elastic in there. So we're going to start adding flour. We're going to probably add about half of the remaining bag here. And give that a mix. Going to go down to the low speed because we were on the medium speed just to incorporate that, but we don't want to sling flour out all over the place. Alright, starting to look like bread dough. We're going to go ahead and add the rest of the bag. And then we're going to need a little more beyond that probably. You can see we're still not pulling away from the sides at all. So at this point you want to go with about a cup of flour at a time because we don't want to get too dry, and then we'll keep going. I think one more installment and we'll probably have it. You can see what a workout it is here for Big Bertha. You can imagine if I was doing this big mix by hand, it's going to be awesome having this mixer. Alright, you can see how it's starting to pull away from the side of the bowl. The dough is tacky but not sticky. I can still get my fingers off of it. So I think we are there. So I'm going to pull the bowl off, and then I'm going to kind of pull everything from the side of the bowl with my hand, make sure everything's incorporated well, and then it's time to let this thing sit. So after using that whole 5-pound sack of bread flour, we added 5.5 more cups into the bowl. And then while I was pulling everything away from the bowl, I probably used another 1/2 cup. So we're right at 6 cups beyond that 5-pound bag of flour. Now I probably could have did that in the mixer, but I just get nervous that I'm going to get too dry. So we added that last 1/2 cup by hand, which worked out just fine. But you really can't take that to the bank because the amount of flour you use depends on the moisture that's in the flour. That's why most of your good bakers use a weight instead of a measurement. Now, I've never weighed all this flour out. It'd be easy to do if I had a bigger scale. I could actually weigh the flour that I put in, and then I would know for sure. I could just go by weight. But I've been doing it this way for years. It's not that tough. Okay, we've got the dough completely pulled away from the sides now. Still a little tacky, but that's right where we want it. And then I'm just kind of punching this dough to smooth out the top after I mess with it a little bit, because otherwise these little edges will get dry in here. So we're going to get this covered with a towel now. You're going to let this rise till double. You want to kind of take note in your bowl where you're at. So when this thing rises double, it's going to be clear to the top of this bowl. So we want to bless our bread and then spray the sides of the bowl with some, I use the butter flavored cooking spray. But you can use oil, butter, whatever you want to do. And then I also spray the top of the bread real good. About like that. Want to cover our bowl with a kitchen towel. These are made out of old bed sheets. My mom made these. They're perfect for bread because they're nice and lightweight. Now if you're in a hurry, you could start your oven at 200 degrees, let it warm up, and then turn it off. And then throw your pan in the oven to kickstart your rise. But we don't need to do that. We still have all day. It's only 4:30-ish. So we'll see you later when this thing's double. So now we can sit and relax. Have my nice warm cup of green tea. And maybe sit down and take a little nap. I doubt it though. This old man insomnia. Pretty frustrating sometimes. Maybe if Kelly and I open a bakery someday, we'll call it Insomnia Bread Company. What do you think about that name, Ruby? Not interested? Kids.
Just do it.
Ruby's favorite show. Well, it's now 6:30. I looked over from the chair and saw a little bulge sticking up on our bowl here. Look at that. Beautiful. So we're at the point where we need to punch this down. We have one rise on it, so you just get in here with your fingers. That dough feels perfect. Going to knock it down, back down into the bowl. Doesn't quite go halfway down, but it goes down a little bit. Put the cover back on this, and we need to rise a second time. The second rise always goes faster. Now, I don't normally make this much for the bake sale, but in years past, the bread goes for so much that a lot of people can't afford it, because one pan of bread's been going for like $40, which is kind of cool, but it prices people out of the market. So this year I'm going to flood it with more Portuguese sweetbread so more people can afford to get some, because there's a lot of people that really love it and try to get it, but they just get outbid. And then they want me to start making it for them, and they'll pay me to make it. And I'm like, I'm really not in a business to do this. I do make it for my relatives, like my aunt. I always give her a pan of bread. And my mom, we take her some. But I just want more people to be able to enjoy it. Time for breakfast. Remember that bologna we made? Fried bologna sandwich for breakfast. Yummy. Gonna be tasty. Alright, 8 o'clock. Looks like we're up here again. There it is. So we punched down this one more time now, and then right after we punch it down right now, we need to start putting all of our bread in our pans and get all of our pans ready, and then it will rise in the pan for the third time. So 3 rises total, twice in here, 1 in the pans, and then we're ready to bake. So I've got literally every baking pan that we have are out here on the counter. I've got lots of takeaway ones that we don't have to get back for the bake sale. This whole counter is going to be covered with bread, and probably some other areas too. Feels awesome. Perfect. So we got one of our pans. We need to spray it with our cooking spray. So in our pan, we need 7 walnut-sized pieces. If you want to go a little bit bigger, you can go like apricot size. But they cook better if you go kind of a walnut-sized piece. So just kind of pinch off what you think size of a walnut is. And then we're rolling the dough over the top and tucking it underneath. Some people can do it on the counter, or some people can do it in their hands doing this, but I've always done it this way, just pinching it underneath and then rolling over the top with my other fingers. And I start with one right in the middle. Then we pinch off another piece. I'm pretty good at judging the size that I pinch off. I've been doing this so long. And make them all look really uniform and beautiful. So just like that, we'll come around with 5 more of those. Got our last one we're doing here. Just want to keep pinching that until you get a nice smooth top on it. And throw it in your pan. You can adjust in your pan a little bit to make sure you're even. You can see our middle one's a little smaller, but that doesn't matter. But that's what our pan of buns looks like. So we'll set that aside and do 9 more of these. Now this dough has been absolutely perfect. Not too sticky, but it's not dry. But if you find that your dough is a little sticky, all you got to do is put a little of your cooking spray on your fingers or a little butter, and that works just fine. But this dough has been a real pleasure to work with. It's just barely on the verge of my fingers sticking to it. All right, we got a bunch of our rolls done. We have 10 pans for the bake sale. Got 1 pan for my aunt. I got 1 pan for my mom. So we're going to get these covered up. Use our same towel here. We might have to bust out another one. I don't know if this one's going to be big enough. It's going to be close. Perfect. So we've got some dough left, but I already know what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to make one nice traditional Portuguese loaf, and then the rest of it we're going to make something real special. There's our traditional loaf. It's just going to rise up and make kind of a globe there. I like doing it like this because I can slice it, because sweetbread toast is absolutely the best thing ever. So the rest of this dough, this is a good sweet dough, so we're going to make some cinnamon rolls for the bake sale. So let's make the filling real quick. So our filling is 1/2 cup or 1 stick of softened butter, a half a cup of brown sugar packed, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So we're going to combine all that together. Got our filling made. So now we're going to take our dough, we're going to flour we'll get a board out here. We'll flour and roll our dough out. So we're going to be making a big rectangle. So we're kind of working that direction by patting our dough out before we start rolling it. Doesn't have to be a huge rectangle. There we go. We'll touch up our corners a little bit. So now we're going to come on with our spread. I'm just going to do this with my fingers. Kind of an even layer all the way across, and then we'll spread it out a little bit. Now we're going to go absolutely crazy with these cinnamon rolls, and you'll see how here in a little bit. I think they're going to be a huge hit. So spread this out. Oop, lost a little on the floor. Pups will clean that up. Okay, I think that'll do it. So let's start rolling this up all the way across. Cinnamon rolls are pretty easy to make once the bread dough is made. Don't want to waste any of that filling. That's the good stuff. Once you get it rolled, you can push the end up a little bit, like that. You're going to get our big knife. Now we're doing this in a square pan, so we want 9 cinnamon rolls. So we're going to cut this into 3 pieces, 3 equal pieces there. Then each one of these pieces will go into 3 pieces, and that'll make 9. There we go, 3, 6, 9. So let's get them in the pan. Clean a spot from my pan here. So we're going to go 3 across, 3 by 3 by 3. Try to put the edges that are open against the sides so they don't open up further when you're cooking. And these will rise up just like the bread. They'll rise up double. So we got to leave them a little room in here. So now we want to press them down a little bit. Kind of even them out. And all this crusty material that didn't make it into the cinnamon rolls, we will make sure that that all goes in there. So this will rise just like the bread. Now, while we wait for all of this to rise, I'll show you how crazy stupid we're going to get with these cinnamon rolls. We're frying up a 1/4 pound of bacon because you probably guessed it already. We're going to make maple bacon cinnamon rolls. Doesn't that sound amazing? Our bacon's all done and we chopped it up. You want to cook it a little crispier than normal so it does chop well and it's not rubbery. Take a peek at our rolls. They're looking good. They're not quite all the way risen yet. Won't be long though. I've gone ahead and started the oven at 325 preheating. That'll help warm up the kitchen a little bit because we run our house pretty cold in the winter, like 66 degrees. And that's not very favorable conditions to raising bread. So when it's all ready to bake, we'll get in here and get after it. Well, it appears we have doubled in size. So a baking we will go. We'll do 2 of these at a time in the oven. Check on our cinnamon rolls. Yep, everything's ready to go. So just to give you an idea, we started at 3 a.m. starting to mix everything up. It's now 11 a.m. So right at about an 8-hour process on this, not including the cooking. We've got some melted butter ready for when they come out. Our first batch is out of the oven. You want them a kind of a deep brown. If you go to just a golden brown, they won't be cooked enough. And they'll actually collapse in the middle. So make sure they're good and brown before you take them out. And then once they're out, you brush them with butter. Gives them a beautiful shiny color for a little bit until that soaks in. And that keeps your crust on your bread from drying out too much. Keeps it nice and soft and moist. It makes for a real beautiful loaf. There we go. Some good looking bread. Well, we've been baking bread. We have our last 2 pans like this in the oven. And all we have left is our cinnamon rolls and our traditional loaf here. So we've been keeping track of when they come out because if you want to keep your bread moist as soon as it's cool to the touch and you can't feel any heat at all, you need to start wrapping these. If you wrap it too early, it's going to condensate in there and cause issues. But we know exactly which order to wrap it. We've already started. And we'll show you a little trick with the cinnamon rolls when we get going on those. Okay, all of our bread is out. So we're going to pay attention to our cinnamon rolls and our other bread now. Now the secret to cinnamon rolls that most people are not going to tell you is some heavy cream. You want to dump some heavy cream down in the cinnamon rolls before you put it in the oven, about 3/4 of a tablespoon per roll. So we ended up between 6 and 7 tablespoons, but you want to heat it up. You don't want to pour cold stuff in there because it'll inhibit the cook and the rise in the oven. So we're going to put the heavy cream in the microwave until it's almost at a simmer. Okay, our cream is nice and hot. We're going to pour it right over our cinnamon rolls. We want it to run down in the pan, which our pan's a little full right now because these things rose up on us, but it'll get down in there. It'll find its way. And this is not only going to keep your cinnamon rolls nice and moist, it's going to create a fantastic little glaze on the bottom, little ooey gooey bottom on it. All right, I'm going to let that kind of soak in a little bit. Get it going around the side of the pan where it can get down in there. We don't want it boiling over. All right, into the oven we go. Our last batch of baked goods is out now. Look at how big those cinnamon rolls rose up. I don't think the lid's going to go on that pan. We'll have to figure something else out. Here's our traditional loaf here that we're going to keep at home. So now we just got to let everything cool off. It's 2 o'clock right now, so it took about 3 hours to bake all this. So about 11 hours start to finish. We rehomed our cinnamon rolls in this fake Tupperware thing because that was not going to work with that lid. It was not going to go on. So now we need to make the glaze for our cinnamon rolls. For our maple glaze, we got a 1/4 cup of melted butter, 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar, 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, and a good pinch of salt. So we'll combine all this into a glaze. If you're glazing donuts or something, you could use the same glaze. So we'll mix this up until all of our clumps are gone. And then we'll spread this on top of our cinnamon rolls. Okay, our cinnamon rolls have cooled off a little bit. You don't want to do it too hot because then all your glaze will melt down and disappear. So we'll just kind of drizzle this all over the top of our cinnamon rolls, trying to get about an equal amount on everything. And then we can come through and kind of spread it around with our spatula. Okay, there's our maple glaze. Guess what's next? Bacon. Wow, that looks and smells amazing. We're going to have to be careful. That might start a bidding war. Okay, we got everything packaged up. Just need to get loaded up and head to town. Let's roll. All right, we made it to the bake sale. Almond poppy seed cake, red velvet cheesecake brownies, Valentine sugar cookies. There's some of Kelly's cupcakes, some Texas Roadhouse biscuit, copycat biscuits, Oreo cupcakes, Kelly sugar cookies, chocolate sheet cake, Oreo truffles, Kelly sugar cookies, Chex Mix, chocolate chip cookies, frosted sugar cookies, big pan of cinnamon rolls, Biscoff cupcakes, Chex Mix, chocolate chip cookies. There's going to be lasagnas. More cinnamon rolls, frosted sugar cookies, but that doesn't look like sugar cookies. Peanut butter cupcakes. More chocolate chip cookies. Cherry pie bars, that looks amazing. Maple bacon cinnamon rolls, look out. More Chex Mix, chocolate chip cookies, and then more chocolate chip cookies down here on the end. It's going to be a good bake sale. Well, I had to beat feet home because I forgot I left Brandy outside. Not that she, can't be outside in the dark, but the temperature drops really fast here in Nebraska after dark. It got down to 16 degrees before I was home, but she was all good out running around, so got her all bundled up on the couch. But the bake sale was going really good. I think we'd made like $310 just on the stuff that we brought by the time I left, and it was only half over at the silent auction. But it's doing really well. Sorry we couldn't do any video of the girls or anything because they all play basketball. So there's only 2 cheerleaders during the girls' basketball game because they all play basketball. So after the game, they're all tired out. They run into the locker room, change into their cheer uniforms, and they come back out and cheer for the boys. Those girls play 4 sports all year long and cheer and dance, and they do drama club, and they still pull straight A's. I don't know how these girls do it. Anybody saying the next generation doesn't have a work ethic, not true here in Nebraska. So, hope you enjoyed getting ready for the bake sale. I'm going to stir me up some little supper here. So, until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here at the farm.